Do I regret the fact that he has quite obviously conducted himself in a manner unbecoming?
Prince Andrew, once the Duke of York and a member of the world's most famous royal family, was born into privilege, power, and prestige. Celebrated with cannon fire and grand ceremonies, he lived a life few could imagine, commanding respect, luxury, and influence. But now, title stripped, royal patronages gone, family distanced, and a 30-room mansion exchanged for a modest farmhouse in Norfolk, Andrew faces a fall from grace like no other. How did it happen, and what does it mean for him and the Windsor legacy? This is the story. The crushing demotion. Once, Andrew's life was defined by Royal Lodge, a sprawling 30-room mansion that seemed to breathe history and royalty through every gilded corner and sweeping corridor. Each room told a story, from the grand ballroom with its glittering chandeliers to the library lined with ancient tomes whose pages whispered secrets of centuries past. The walls themselves seemed alive with prestige, echoing the footsteps of generations of royals who had walked there before. Living in Royal Lodge wasn't just about comfort. It was an immersive experience in wealth, status, and the weight of tradition. Every morning, Andrew awoke enveloped in luxury, surrounded by reminders that his world was one most people could only dream of, if at all. Now, that world has shifted in ways more profound than a simple change of scenery. He finds himself at Marsh Farm, a humble, weathered property tucked into the quiet, open landscapes of rural Norfolk. Where Royal Lodge offered grandeur, Marsh Farm offers simplicity. Where ornate decorations once framed his life, here the walls are bare, the rooms small, and the ceilings low. It is no longer a place designed to impress, entertain, or dazzle. It is a space that simply exists, ordinary and unassuming, asking nothing of him except to inhabit it. The contrast is staggering. What was once vast and commanding has become modest and unremarkable. The transition is not just physical, it is deeply symbolic. Andrew is forced to confront a reality stripped of titles, appearances, and inherited grandeur. A reality in which his presence is no longer amplified by opulence. In Marsh Farm, there are no echoes of legacy or whispers of influence. There is only the quiet rhythm of rural life, punctuated by the distant calls of birds and the slow sway of trees in the Norfolk wind. This sudden change tests Andrew in ways he never imagined. What were once effortless routines now require thought, effort, and careful attention. The vast spaces and comforts he once took for granted are gone, replaced by a home that judges him not by wealth or grandeur, but by his patience, adaptability, and resilience. Every creaking floorboard, every low-hanging beam seems to reflect the boundaries of his new life, a life far removed from the limitless privilege he once knew. Even the smallest task becomes a reminder of how drastically his world has shifted, forcing him to confront limits he never had to face before. In Marsh Farm, Andrew is no longer enveloped in grandeur or shielded by history. He must meet life on its quiet, unadorned terms, a test of character, humility, and self-discovery that challenges everything he thought he knew about comfort, status, and what it means to truly belong. Andrew, who once enjoyed life in the royal mansion with all its luxury, now finds that era a thing of the past. But was it only the mansion he lost, or did other privileges also slip away? What are the things a prince would never have imagined losing, whose memory now lingers? Let's uncover the details. The vanishing of servants and daily indulgence. Life in the royal household had been a world apart, a universe where Andrew's slightest need was anticipated and fulfilled before he even had the chance to voice it. At Royal Lodge, he existed within a meticulously choreographed web of attendants. Footmen who hovered with silent precision, aides who organized every detail of his day, chefs who prepared meals that were as much art as sustenance, and personal assistants who ensured that even the smallest inconvenience never touched him. The rhythm of his life was one of seamless comfort, a constant hum of service that made everything appear effortless. Every door was opened, every demand foreseen, and every day cushioned in the luxury of being looked after. He had never truly known the weight of self-reliance because someone, somewhere, was always ready to step in, smooth over any friction, and deliver perfection without a moment's delay. Now, that world has shifted in ways he could never have imagined. At Marsh Farm, Andrew faces a startlingly different reality. The invisible army of attendants has been replaced by the occasional, practical assistance from Sandringham, a caretaker whose roles are humble yet essential: cleaner, gardener, cook. There are no footmen in livery awaiting his instructions, no chefs presenting meals under silver cloches that gleamed with ceremonial elegance, no aides ready to anticipate his every need before it could even be expressed. Spontaneous pleasures, breakfasts at odd hours, snacks delivered with impeccable timing, rooms maintained in pristine perfection, have disappeared. Where life once moved with the luxury of instant gratification, he is now met with patience, planning, and the slow, deliberate pace of someone who must manage his own world. This transition is more than a practical adjustment. It is a test of patience, humility, and adaptation. Simple tasks once invisible to him, cooking, tidying, even remembering to ask for what he needs, suddenly demand attention and effort. He's confronted with the quiet reality of self-sufficiency, the kind of routine that once seemed unimaginable. Every chore, every delayed meal, every small inconvenience serves as a reminder that life here does not bend to his desires. In this modest, rural existence, Andrew must learn to navigate a life stripped of pampering and privilege. The world of royal ease has been replaced by the honest, grounding rhythm of everyday life. It is a space where he must confront the limits of comfort, the patience required to live without constant service, and the unexpected growth that comes from learning to manage a life entirely on his own. The luxury of instant gratification is gone, replaced by a slower, quieter, and far more demanding reality. A reality that asks not for indulgence, but resilience. Not only did Andrew lose the royal mansion, but all the attendants, including footmen, aides, cooks, and personal assistants, were also withdrawn from him. But could anyone predict such a dramatic fall for a prince from the very beginning? Who was Andrew before he lost it all? Let's find out, from royal privilege to public scrutiny. Before his dramatic fall from public favor, Andrew held the prestigious title of Duke of York, a position he bore for nearly 4 decades. Born into the heart of the British monarchy as the son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, he entered a life steeped in history, expectation, and privilege. From his earliest days, Andrew was groomed to navigate a world few could ever imagine, one defined by ceremony, protocol, and the relentless gaze of public scrutiny. For the first 22 years of his life, he occupied a unique place in the line of succession, standing directly behind his older brother, now King Charles III, a position that carried both honor and responsibility, shaping his identity in ways inseparable from the crown itself. Yet Andrew was never defined solely by his birthright. He carved a distinguished path of service in the Royal Navy, where he became a skilled helicopter pilot and took part in the Falklands War. His commitment earned him admiration and respect, marking him not just as a figure of inherited status, but as a man capable of bravery, discipline, and leadership. Outside the military, his personal life added another layer to his public persona. His marriage to Sarah Ferguson, though lasting only 6 years before their separation in 1992, was far from a quiet retreat from royal life. The bond endured over decades, revealing a connection that was both personal and emblematic of the complicated realities behind royal appearances. For decades, Andrew lived a life defined by a delicate balance of privilege, duty, and influence. He moved seamlessly through the highest social circles, attended grand ceremonies reserved for the powerful, and enjoyed levels of comfort and security that most could only imagine. Every gesture, every decision carried weight because of his status, making him appear untouchable, protected by tradition, protocol, and public respect. To the outside world, he seemed almost invincible, a man insulated from consequence or scandal. In that world, the notion of failure or public disgrace felt remote, a threat that belonged to others, never to someone of his rank and influence. Yet history, as it often does, has a way of humbling even the most insulated lives. The grandeur, privilege, and untouchable aura that defined Andrew for decades could not shield him forever. Whether through quiet erosion or decisive revelation, his world began to shift, exposing the fragility beneath the crown's sheen. The story of Andrew is a reminder that no matter how secure, prestigious, or revered a life may seem, it remains subject to the unpredictable currents of circumstance, choice, and public judgment. A life where fortune can rise and fall with startling speed, and even royalty is not immune to the unraveling of carefully constructed worlds. Andrew had a decorated and enviable career before everything began slipping away from him right before his eyes. But what could have led to such a disgraceful fall of the former Duke of York? Now let's delve into the allegations that changed everything. When protection fails. Every fall from grace begins with a moment when protection falters, when the carefully constructed shields of privilege and reputation fail to hold. For Andrew, that moment arrived in the form of a civil lawsuit filed in the United States, one that would forever alter his public life. Virginia Giuffre came forward, accusing the Duke of York of sexual abuse. She claimed in court documents that she had been trafficked and exploited by the late financier Jeffrey Epstein, starting when she was just 16. According to her allegations, Epstein lent her out to influential men, including Prince Andrew, and she stated that the Duke assaulted her on 3 separate occasions while she was still underage. From the start, Andrew vehemently denied all accusations. In a 2019 interview with BBC Newsnight, he insisted he had no memory of ever meeting Giuffre. Rather than quelling the storm, however, the interview became a public relations disaster. His words, body language, and explanations were scrutinized and criticized around the world, intensifying public suspicion and further damaging his credibility. For Andrew, it was no longer a matter of personal defense. The spotlight had shifted, and the stakes were far higher than a single reputation. The repercussions extended beyond Andrew alone. The monarchy itself, an institution built on tradition, trust, and perception, found its image under unprecedented strain. In royal life, perception often carries weight equal to, if not greater than, legality. Every headline, every whisper, every online discussion chipped away at the public's confidence in the crown. The Duke's situation became inseparable from the institution he represented, turning a personal legal matter into a national and even international concern. In February, Andrew's long-running legal battle reached a critical turning point. Court documents revealed that he and Virginia Giuffre had agreed to an out-of-court settlement. Although Andrew did not admit any guilt, the consequences were clear and unavoidable. His public life as a royal was effectively over. The settlement may have spared him a drawn-out courtroom battle, but it could not undo the damage to his reputation. Public perception, once shaped by scandal and suspicion, remained unshaken. In a single decision, the royal privileges, appearances, and influence he had long relied on were irreversibly stripped away, marking the start of his quiet fall from prominence. From that moment forward, Andrew's world began to unravel. The privileges, influence, and protections that had once defined his existence offered little defense against the relentless tide of scrutiny, judgment, and public condemnation. The settlement marked not just a legal endpoint, but a turning point in his life. A stark reminder that even the most shielded figures are vulnerable when their past collides with the unyielding glare of public attention. For Andrew, the unraveling had begun, and there was no path back to the life he once knew. The major reason for Andrew's downfall is sexual allegations and his relationship with a well-known pedophile, which he has always denied. But was his denial enough to preserve the privileges and rights he once enjoyed due to his royal status? Now let's uncover how Andrew's world of priceless possessions and privilege vanished almost overnight. Treasures and weapons lost. Andrew's world, once overflowing with luxury and treasures, has contracted almost overnight, leaving behind only echoes of the life he once commanded. The rooms that once held priceless artworks from the royal collection now stand empty of their familiar grandeur, each missing painting and sculpture a silent testament to the wealth and prestige that have slipped through his fingers. What was once a carefully curated environment, filled with objects, both beautiful and meaningful, has been reduced to a simpler, quieter existence. One in which the trappings of privilege no longer offer comfort or status. Among Andrew's most striking losses were his Purdy shotguns, world-renowned for their craftsmanship and valued at tens of thousands of dollars each. These firearms were more than tools. They were symbols of skill, leisure, and personal pride. Once central to one of his most cherished hobbies, they were surrendered, and with them vanished a meaningful part of his identity. The revocation of his gun license severed his access entirely, stripping away not only a recreational pursuit, but a passion that had defined him for decades. In losing these treasures, Andrew faced the quiet erosion of both privilege and personal fulfillment. Even his more intimate possessions were not spared. His famously obsessive collection of 70 teddy bears, a quirky and endearing reflection of his softer side, has been disbanded. These stuffed companions, once lined up in careful order, offered comfort, familiarity, and a personal connection to a world where so much else was public and scrutinized. The dismantling of this collection is more than the loss of toys. It is a symbolic gesture, highlighting just how far his personal sanctuary has been diminished. Outside the walls of his home, the signs of contraction are equally stark. Garages that once housed gleaming luxury vehicles, each chosen for performance, prestige, or simply the joy of ownership, are now bare. The personal trappings that once defined him, the things that spoke of status, taste, and freedom, are no longer his to command. Each absence, from artwork to automobile, from firearm to teddy bear, reinforces a truth he cannot ignore. The life he inhabited, once lavish and untouchable, has been irrevocably altered. Andrew is left to navigate a world stripped of the markers of privilege, a world where the possessions that once signaled power, identity, and security are gone. The shift is more than material. It is psychological, emotional, and deeply humbling. Every object lost, every collection dispersed, every luxury surrendered, is a reminder that even the most insulated lives are subject to change. The symbols that once defined him have vanished, leaving a man who must confront the stark reality of life without the treasures, comforts, and privileges that once seemed inseparable from his existence. Beyond losing his shotgun, Andrew was also deprived of his treasured teddy bear collection. But what is the most important honor, not measured in material wealth, that holds the greatest value for any royal member that Andrew also lost? And what does losing it mean for his honor and prestige? Let's find out. Stripped of crown and command. Being a member of the royal family is not just a matter of tradition or ceremony, It is a life defined by power, influence, and constant visibility. Titles carry weight, patronages open doors, public duties place one at the center of attention, and prestige. For Andrew, these markers of status were once the pillars of his identity. They framed his every action, offered him unquestioned authority, and surrounded him with a network of respect and recognition that few could imagine. Every handshake, every official engagement, and every ceremonial role reinforced the aura of importance that his royal position commanded. Now, that world has crumbled. Andrew has lost the privileges that once came naturally with his birthright. His military titles, symbols of service and accomplishment, have been stripped away, leaving behind only the memory of honor that no longer carries public weight. Royal patronages, once a conduit for influence and recognition, have been withdrawn, severing his connection to charitable organizations, institutions, and causes that once depended on his visibility to garner support and attention. Invitations to events that were once routine no longer arrive. The doors that had been flung open by virtue of his position are now closed, leaving him outside the spaces he once occupied with ease. Public appearances, once a fixture of his life, have disappeared entirely. The cameras no longer follow him. The press no longer heralds his presence. Without ceremonial duties, official engagements, or the symbolic authority of a royal role, Andrew's life has been drastically narrowed. The attention, respect, and automatic deference that his title once commanded are gone, replaced by scrutiny, judgment, and public ambivalence. Where once he moved with an aura of authority that seemed innate, he is now confronted with the ordinary reality of life, stripped of institutional power. The loss is more than practical. It is profoundly psychological. Royal status shapes perception, both for the world and for oneself. Without the outward signs of power, the symbols of prestige, and the public reinforcement of position, Andrew is forced to confront a reality in which he is no longer amplified by the crown. The privileges he once assumed, the respect he once commanded, and the influence he once wielded have vanished, leaving a life defined not by power, but by limitation. In this new chapter, Andrew faces a world where titles are meaningless, patronages are gone, and recognition must be earned rather than inherited. The privileges that once framed his every moment are no longer available, leaving him exposed to the ordinary constraints and judgments of life beyond royalty. For the first time, he must navigate a world where the aura of authority he once took for granted has vanished, replaced by the stark reality of life stripped of status. Military titles, royal patronages, and public duties that once translated to power, visibility, and influence were also stripped from Andrew. But could there be more to all that he had lost? Did he still have people who revered him and remained loyal despite the challenges? Or had they, too, abandoned him in this trying time? Let's uncover the shocking details. From family bonds to solitude. As the material trappings of privilege fade and public recognition slips away, Andrew is confronted with a far harsher reality: the erosion of his emotional world. Wealth, titles, and ceremonial influence may define the outer layers of a royal life, but it is relationships, family bonds, and personal connections that give it warmth and meaning. For Andrew, those too are slipping from his grasp. The people who once formed the foundation of his private life are slowly moving away, leaving him to navigate an increasingly isolated existence. Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife and longtime confidant within the royal household, is moving forward with her own life. Their shared history, which once offered a measure of stability and companionship, now feels distant. While their connection may endure in some ways, the closeness that made her a daily presence has begun to dissipate, leaving Andrew with a quiet house that echoes with absence. Even family ties are fraying under the weight of circumstance. Princess Eugenie, his daughter who once relied on him for guidance and comfort, has severed direct contact, going so far as to clear out her childhood bedroom at Royal Lodge. Princess Beatrice, too, has taken a step back, retreating into her own life and creating a space that is no longer shared with her father. Friends and allies who once moved within his orbit have quietly disappeared. Invitations are no longer extended, support networks have thinned, and casual camaraderie, once effortless, has become scarce. The conversations, shared confidences, and moments of laughter that defined his social life are now largely gone. In place of companionship, there is silence. In place of presence, there is absence. Every empty chair, every unreturned call, every closed door reminds him of how drastically his life has changed. This new reality is a kind of loneliness that few can fully understand. It is not simply the absence of luxury or status. It is the absence of connection, of warmth, and of people who once made his world feel whole. The shrinking lifestyle and stripped-down public life are accompanied by the quiet sting of relational loss, a reminder that even privilege cannot shield one from emotional isolation. In confronting this solitude, Andrew must navigate a life stripped of both material and relational anchors. The homes, the titles, and the accolades no longer provide comfort, and the absence of loved ones underscores the human cost of his public and personal decline. He is left with a stark, unvarnished reality, a life where the privileges of royalty no longer reach, and where the emotional support that once defined his existence has all but vanished, leaving him to face the profound loneliness that comes when personal connections fade alongside public power. Even Andrew's immediate family members, who one would expect to remain loyal and stand by him during this challenging period, stayed away and severed contact. But why did he face such a profound crisis? And why could royal power not save him? Now, let's explore how the Windsors silently let Andrew fall from relevance. The quiet, unyielding power of the monarchy. The power of the Windsor family is quiet, calculated, and almost invisible to the outside world. It does not make noise or display emotion. It does not need grand gestures or dramatic statements. Instead, it works with patience, strategy, and careful timing, like a slow but unstoppable tide. Every choice, every action, and even every silence is designed to protect the monarchy above all else. In this world, no individual, even a prince, matters more than the institution itself. The family's strength lies in its ability to endure, outlast, and remain untouchable, no matter the challenges. Andrew's removal from public life was a masterclass in this quiet, deliberate power. One by one, the structures that had supported him began to vanish. His military titles, symbols of honor, service, and respect, were stripped away. His royal patronages, once pathways to influence and prestige, were withdrawn. Invitations to public engagements ceased to arrive, and once routine appearances became increasingly rare, they finally became non-existent. The palace, which had once shielded him from scrutiny and criticism, stepped back, allowing the scrutiny to mount unchecked. Slowly, deliberately, Andrew was removed from relevance. The institution did not need to announce exile or disgrace. It simply allowed him to fade from view. This is how royal power works. It does not need to punish in loud or public ways. It does not need to humiliate. Instead, it preserves itself by protecting the whole, not the individual. When someone threatens the image, reputation, or stability of the family, the response is measured, effective, and almost invisible. Titles can be revoked. Security can be reduced. Homes can be reassigned. Status can be quietly dissolved. A person can go from the center of attention to a background figure without the need for fanfare or public shaming. Relevance is power, and removing relevance is often more devastating than any headline. Andrew did not lose his place because the Windsors are weak. He lost it because they are strong. Strong enough to act with patience, restraint, and calculation, letting the consequences of public perception and private actions take their toll. Strength in this case is not displayed in dramatic gestures or angry declarations. It is measured in absence, silence, and deliberate distancing. The family's strength lies in its ability to continue, unshaken, even as individuals stumble. The institution does not bend to protect one member at all costs. Instead, it survives by allowing that member to fall when circumstances demand it. In the end, Andrew's fall is not the result of enemies or sheer bad luck, but a reflection of the quiet, unshakable power of the monarchy. The Windsor family does not need to confront him directly. They simply allow time, circumstance, and public perception to do their work. Titles are stripped, privileges fade, and relevance slips away, all without spectacle or fanfare. His decline is complete, yet the institution stands firm, proving that true power is measured not by drama or noise, but by patience, endurance, and the ability to survive long after individuals have fallen. So, what do you think about Andrew's fall? How long can he survive this loss? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.